Hi everyone, and welcome to Hobby World. My 3D printed Terminator is really beginning to look like the real deal. Glowing red eyes, dark chrome finish, and a really mean attitude. So please stick around if you want to see how I got this epic result. I'd just like to start this video with a small extra intro to let you all know how positive I am about all of the support I've gotten for this channel since I posted my first Terminator video. I didn't expect this kind of support, and to be quite honest, I am a bit overwhelmed. It is extremely motivating and it helps me staying on track and focusing on doing my very best. So thank you all for your support, it means a lot. One of the things that makes the Terminator really stand out is its glowing red eyes. And I have 3D designed a lens that fits the eye socket of my model of the Terminator. And on the back side of the lens there is a hole for a 5mm LED, so I can create the real glowing effect of the eye. I need to 3D print this in a clear form of resin, and I could only get my hands in this clear resin here, but I need it to be red, so I'm just going to apply some red shade or some red wash paint to the resin, and then start the printer. I've not tried to do this before, so it's going to be interesting how it will end up. I'm starting to mix it. First, you can see the clear resin here. I actually don't know how much I'm going to need. It's not a lot because these eyes aren't that large. So I'm just going to mix this and then add the wash. And the interesting part is how this is going to turn out when the printer starts printing. I actually don't know. I've seen people do it before, but I don't know if you can add this red color and get a nice effect. Yeah, let's try to do that once more, and hopefully I'll get the right color this time. First I'll pour the resin up here, and this time I'm going to try a airbrush color, a red airbrush color, as I hope this will give a much better red. Not that dark stuff I got over there. The idea is that it should look something like a lens, so it needs to be see-through, it needs to be clear. But yeah, this is much better. This is the red I was looking for. Yeah, this has actually left quite a mess. When I did the head, I had to make the surface smooth using resin, UV curing resin, and I applied it to all of the head. And it actually took a long while, and after I had applied the UV resin, I had to sand it all down to get the smooth surface I wanted. And this is the torso of the Terminator, and it looks really great. But I also have to apply the UV resin to this. And yesterday I did all of the front, and I'm probably going to do one more layer on this. But I also have to do the back side, and I'm going to start with that right now. But this is a massive task, and so far it has taken a long time just to do this. I actually used all day yesterday to apply 3 coats of UV resin on the torso and 3 coats on the leg section, the bottom of the Terminator. And I only need to do the back on this one right now. But the result is actually quite good. It is already very smooth to the touch, and then the sanding will do the rest, hopefully. I'm a bit worried about the hands, as I printed this on the CR10 with a rather massive layer height of 0.4, so they have these layer lines showing on the hands. and I simply need to remove these so it looks perfect before I try to paint them with chrome. But yeah, using enough layers of resin and then sanding it down and then a primer should do it. But it's very important for me that it ends up looking really good. As I've used so much time already on this project, it would be a shame not to do the rest right. Right now my kind of worry is how I'm going to position this so I can paint the back without damaging anything. I might be able to put it on the side like this, as I'm a bit worried that one of the arms will break off. Oh, something like this could possibly do it. This might be the solution. Letting it rest on the chest section here, and now I can apply all of the resin. I'm using this resin, which has a lot less smell than some of the other resins I've been using. I'm using a lot of it and I'm exposed to it, so of course I'm also using gloves. When I did the head, I used this UV lamp to cure all of the head, and I actually got a pretty sore eyes afterwards, so I got a bit worried about using this too much. It was a large project and I used it for a lot of hours before I was actually finished, and this is so much more, so I ended up buying a welding helmet. This blocks out the UV rays, and it actually works really well. I can almost not see this light through this, and this is one of the it's one of these that automatically shuts down. So when it shuts completely down for it, I'm not able to see anything through it, but it blocks the UV light quite nicely. So that was a great idea. It's important to use the protection you can when working with hobby projects, so you don't damage yourself through time. Right now I'm just going to plug this UV lamp in, and then I'm going to start applying all of the UV resin on this model. I only wear the mask when I'm actually working on something that's curing, so when I'm using the UV light. It's pretty annoying having it on just to do this, and this takes a lot of time. I started applying it to surfaces, and then when I've applied it to a larger surface, a larger area, I'm going to use the UV light to cure it. I also managed to do a bit on the head yesterday, and I'm going to post some pictures of that because the head actually looks really nice. I ended up finishing the electronics and getting the head ready, and when the eyes was turned on, it just looks so great. I'm really pleased with that one. When I have finished applying this stuff to this model, I'm going to leave it out in the sun for a rather long time to make absolutely sure that every drop of this UV resin is cured. I don't want any uncured UV resin on the model. That would be rather annoying. And when it's cured, I'm going to apply the base coat. I'm just going to spray that on, and after the base coat I'm going to apply the black paint. I'm of course going to sand it down regularly or in intervals several times before it's finished. So the sanding down process is a large part of this project, and I can't avoid it. It's really important for the nice final finishing touch or the nice finish on the final model. I actually don't know what I started up with. This is such a large project and so far I've used so much time on it. But I'm of course hoping for a really nice result. I'm going to display the model in our gaming area, where I also have the room to have a model this size standing. So a lot of years ago I built a gaming hall in our house. We bought an old farm, and this old farm had an old cow stable, which I actually more or less tore down off the interior, and then made some new walls, made the floors and everything, and then I made room for our gaming hall, where we currently have a gaming club, computers, racing simulators, an arcade hall with old home-built arcade machines, and this model will be a great addition to that room. It took a lot of time, and almost everything was done manually, so even the tearing down of all of those old steel pipes and so on was in the room. It was a massive undertaking, but this, in some way, this is almost as much. This is a really large model. I'm not going to do this again anytime soon, that's for sure, but I have other projects planned. When this Terminator is finished, I am working a bit on an old slot car racetrack, and I'd really like to do a video about that. And I need to apply at least 3 coats before I'm satisfied with this. I have to remove all of the layer lines, but I also have to remove all of the places where I have PLA welded this stuff together, and that's actually the worst part. And then there are some places on the print itself that didn't print that well. Remember that I printed this with a rather massive layer height and not the best resolution for a 3D printer. The project would never have finished. Well, of course it would, but it would have taken so long time. So I cut some corners somewhere, and now I'm paying for it, because if I had used a better resolution, I would have had to do much less of this work I'm doing right now. And it's a balance. How much is it worth doing it, printing it perfectly, and then using a lot of extra print hours, or can I compensate for it applying the resin and sanding down? And I just need to find the right balance. I actually think it's okay using a day or two applying resin to this and then sanding it down is actually okay, because the 3D printers, if they had printed a day or two more, it would only have been 4 or 5 of these parts that had a better result, and I would have used several weeks more printing if it needed to be a quality where I did not need to do this I'm doing right now to correct it. So I actually think that I ended up finding the right balance. Yeah, I've just gotten home from work and it's time to sand this model down. I applied 3 coats of resin, and it seems pretty hardened, but the general idea now is that I'm going to sand it all down, and when it's sanded down I'm going to just check every bit of it to make sure that it's completely smooth, and when all have been checked, I'm going to apply a bit more resin towards the parts that still needs a bit smoothing. And then I'm going to prime it using a spray primer. I'm going to do that outside due to the massive size of this model, and then I'm going to apply the black, airbrush it all with chrome paint, and then it's basically finished. Then I'll just need to finish up all of the details of the model. And by details I mean stuff such as weathering and a bit battle damage. I'm not going to make a brand new Terminator out of this. I'm going to make a Terminator that has a bit wear and tear. And the reason for that is that there are flaws in this 3D print. There are places where I've assembled the pieces and so on, where you can see tiny flaws. And by adding some battle damage or some wear and tear on the model, I can actually hide this and make it look like it was supposed to be like that. So that's the main reason for not making this a brand new Terminator. And personally, I actually think that the battle damage also gives a realistic look. It looks really awesome when you've weathered something. I'm going to use different kinds of pigments and paints to do this, but more on that later when I actually get to the point when I'm going to apply it. Right now I'm just going to sand all of this down. I'm going to use a grit 220 first, and then I'm going to use a very fine grit of 1200 and use some water on it as the last step in this process. Yesterday, when I got back home from work, I was sanding down for 6 hours straight, and I managed to sand down most of the torso, and I'm almost finished with these, the lower section of the model, the legs and the hip. And luckily today I'm working from home, so each time I get a break I can just walk in here and do some more sanding. And I just love sanding, no doubt about it. That's just great. And the only reason that I am doing this so intense right now is that I really want to finish this model. I am looking so much forward to painting this in chrome. I think it will look absolutely amazing. But when I painted the skull, I discovered that if I'm not doing this perfectly, it will have some flaws, and that's pretty annoying. And I might even have to redo a single part of the skull because of this. So I am really doing my best to make this, or do this sanding process as clean and smooth as possible. But this takes a lot of time. Basically I have used around 2 work days on it now, and that's a lot of time, and it's not funny sanding, to be quite honest. Well, the next step is that I'm just going to sand this down once again with a fine grain piece of sandpaper. And when I've done this, I'm going to drag this, the bottom of the Terminator and the torso outside, and then I'm going to use a compressor with some air and then just blow out all of the dust, or remove all of the dust. After that I'm going to prime it using a spray primer. And in my experience, when you prime a model such as this, or any kind of model, you will discover some small flaws that you could not see without the primer on. The primer will make the flaws pop up, and then you can spot them and remove them. And then I'll of course just prime the sections again where I have repaired all of these small flaws, and then I'm going to spray paint it all black. And I want all of this done before the weekend, so I can use an entire day just painting this in chrome. And if it looks half as good as the head, this is going to look incredible. Well, I finally managed to sand down all of the model and clean it and remove all of the dust. And I received this package. Hopefully this one will contain all of the primer I need to clean or to prime the entire model. This should include a standard rattle can spray primer, and I got that right here. This is the primer. I used one called Duplicolor Basic. It was very good on the head. It worked really well, so I just decided to stick to this one. And there's even more down here. Then I have applied the primer and made sure that everything is perfect. I'm squeezing the model out. I'm going to use this Duplicolor All Seasons Black, and this has a real nice shine to it. I know that when using the Alclad chrome paint, I have to, and I usually use the Alclad black base coat before applying the chrome paint, but I used this on the head and it worked really well, and it's much easier applying a rattle can to such a large model than it is using the airbrush. So if I can avoid using the airbrush for applying any base coats, I'm going to do it. And as I said before, this had a really nice effect when applying the Alclad 2 chrome paint on top of this one. So I'm going to use this. And I've gotten 6 bottles or cans of this foam, so that should be more than enough. But as I said just before, I'm going to apply this primer as the first part, and then I'm going to see or check the model for any errors or any flaws in the priming, sand it down if there should be anything, and then I'm going to apply this in a rather thick layer, probably 2 or 3 layers. Yeah, this is the first layer applied, and as you can see, and I kind of expected this, but there are tiny flaws like this. This would look horrible when I paint this in chrome, so I definitely have to remove this. And I think the best way to do this is to apply a second coat, and then I'm going to sand it down once more. That's it, the day's work. Around 10 hours for sanding it all down and priming it and getting it ready. It's all black now, and I'm ready to paint the chrome, and I'm going to do that tomorrow. Right now I just need a break. Yeah, yesterday I primed the entire model and spray painted it black so it was ready for the chrome effect. And I used impressive 8 rattle cans for this, 2 primers and 6 black sprays. That's a lot. It might have taken 8 rattle cans to do this, but it looks really impressive. So this should be a nice base layer for the chrome effect on the model. As I've said several times in video, I'm going to use the Alclad 2 chrome paint for this, and I've only been able to find it in small vials with 30 milliliters in each, so I had to order a lot of them, and I couldn't get the amount I needed here in Denmark, so I ordered it from another country in Europe, and this is the first time I'm opening the box, and I'm really excited to see how much of the paint I've actually gotten right here. I also ordered some pieces for a miniature sub I'm working on, so they aren't relevant for this, but let's take a look. I really hope that I have enough Alclad 2 chrome paint here for the entire model. This is the exact color I'm going to use, ALC 107 chrome from Alclad. And here I have 3, 6, 9, 12 vials and a couple more, exactly the same. And then I ordered a couple of these. This is the aqua gloss used for varnishing the model afterwards, after I have applied the chrome. I read somewhere on the internet that using normal varnish would diminish or damage the chrome effect, and this should be one of the best varnishes to apply on top of the chrome, so I'm going to use this. Let's take a look at the model. It's all here, ready for airbrushing, and this is a large project. I don't know how long time this is going to take, but my guess is that yesterday was the worst day in the project. The sanding down and base priming this model was probably far worse than it is to applying the chrome today, because I do not need to sand anything down today, not unless I find any errors or something like that. So I'm looking forward to this. I'm actually in a quite good mood right now. I'm almost finished this Terminator, and of course I still need to make the weapon, I need to make the scenic base and so on, but this was the hardest part as far as I'm concerned. When all of the robot is standing full height, painted, all in chrome, shining, then there are only the fun parts left. This was the hard part. Would you just take a look at that? That's an absolutely insane amount of chrome paint. I just hope there's enough. Well, first of all, I've absolutely not had a great day today. First of all, my airbrush decided to malfunction, and I used at least an hour and a half just to fix it up before I could start painting the Terminator itself. Afterwards, I started painting, and because of the malfunction, the chest section of the Terminator got a bit dull, didn't have the shine I wanted. So I needed to apply a new undercoat, and this was all the black paint I had left, so if there's any more errors I'm really screwed. After that, the compressor decided to malfunction. I think it was because of heat, because it was running for a long time, and well, that's the status right now. But that being said, I actually think that this looks rather good. As you can see, I've almost finished all of the Terminator. And another good news, another positive thing about it is that I only used 3 bottles of this chrome paint. That leaves me with 11 or 12 chrome paints laying around, and that was actually far less than I expected to use on this model. So I've always had an idea that I wanted to make a hunter killer in a full scale, but I'm pretty sure my wife will discover if I have one in the courtyard suddenly. So I'm probably not going to do that, but I need to do a project using a lot of chrome paint. Let's just get an overview of what I have actually managed to build so far. This is the Terminator T-800 Endoskeleton, standing in all its glory, chromed up and ready for battle. I have done the eyes so far. They are glowing red, just as they should. I am working on the electronics, so I'll be able to make them even less bright, more bright, making them look like they have a malfunction and so on. This is all controlled by an Arduino. The bodywork on the Terminator itself is more or less finished. This is all of the base coat of the chrome. I am going to do a lot of weathering and making some battle damage on the model. I am looking forward to sharing the 4th episode of this series with you all. I have come to the part where I can start building the scenic base for the model, and I'm also going to work on the weapon. Thank you all for watching. Feel free to write a comment down below. All feedback is much appreciated. And if you like the content of this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. See you next time.